It's time for the last day of our big multiplication fact story marathon. So today we get to wrap it up, and by the end of today you'll have stories for all of the basic math facts, your 2s through your 9s. So that's pretty exciting. We're going to start with our 7 times 7 fact. So the people of Fort E wanted to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. So they were really good at spinning twine. That was one of the things that they really excelled at. So twine is a kind of string that you make from plying 2 strands of cotton yarn together, and it's a really nice strong string. So they got to work and they spun all this yarn, and then it got to be the time, it came the day where they were going to ply that yarn into the twine and then roll it into one big ball of yarn. Well, they started doing it. They started plying the yarn together and making their big ball, and this ball of twine got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until before long it was almost as big as the whole fort, and it was gonna, they couldn't even fit inside with it to keep plying it together. So they realized they were gonna have to come from the outside. But Fort E was right by the ocean, and it was kind of surrounded by water, so they couldn't really stand far enough out to hold on to the pieces of yarn while they plied it together. Well, 2 surfers had a really good idea. They decided that if they each took a strand of yarn and surfed out into the ocean with it, they could hold it while the people inside the fort plied it together and spun that ball of yarn. So one surfer went surfing in one direction with his yarn, and the other surfer went surfing in the other direction with his yarn, and together they helped make that world famous Fort E twine. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 8. Well, there was once a skate who loved to go surfing. And one time when he was out there surfing, he saw a bunch of sticks floating in the water. And as he got up closer, he realized that in amongst all the sticks were a bunch of fish. And he was worried he was going to surf right into those fish and hurt them, and he didn't want to do that. So he went and got his fishing pole, and he fished out those fishy sticks. So the surfing skate pulled out the fishy sticks. 7 times 8 is 56. 7 times 9. Well, there was a sign who loved to go surfing. And one day as he was surfing along, a bee was flying around nearby, and he was just having a great day, enjoying the sunshine. And he had just been making a bunch of honey, so he was a little bit sticky. And he crashed, thud, right into that sign who was surfing. And the sign was covered in all this honey. So he pulled off that sticky bee. The surfing sign pulled off the sticky bee. 7 times 9 is 63. All right, we're done with our 7s, and now we are moving on to our 8s. We have 8 times 8. A brother and sister decided one day to go to the roller skating rink. They put on their skates and they started skating around. But before long, they started slowing down and noticing they were getting stuck to the floor because there was gum on the floor. Somebody had spit out their gum on the floor, and it was all over the place. She couldn't skate, and he couldn't skate because of the sticky floor. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9. Once there was a sign who loved to move fast. Now, most signs like to stay still, but this one liked to move really fast. So he had a pair of skates that he would put on, and he would go like skating as fast as he possibly could. One day as he was skating, he saw a big, huge hill. So he went to the top of the hill because he thought, I could really get some speed coming down that hill. So he got up to the top of the hill and he started skating down that hill. And before long, he started to smell something kind of burning. And his feet started to get really hot. And he looked down and he saw that his skates were on fire because he was going so fast that the wheels had suddenly turned to goo. The sign on skates found that his skates were suddenly goo, 72. 9 times 8 is 72. Last one, this is our last story, 9 times 9. Once there was a very hungry giant. He loved to eat massive amounts of food, but the problem was he could never find a spoon big enough to shovel in all that food. Not even a shovel was big enough to shovel in all the food. He had a great big tub he used for a bowl, but he just couldn't find a big enough spoon. Well, one time he saw a couple of signs when he was on his way into town, and he pulled them out of the ground and took them home with him. And he found that with a sign in one hand and a sign in the other, he could eat a ton. 9 times 9 is 81. And that is all of our multiplication stories. So remember those stories. Use your flashcards, and don't just use the flashcards to remember the numbers. Remember the stories with the flashcards too, because that's going to really help you keep those facts in your head. And we're learning all kinds of other strategies to remember those facts too, but hopefully these stories will help some of you guys.